What do men do that makes you think they will always remain single? Subscribe to the channel, like it, and leave a comment. This will greatly help the development of the channel. Thank you. They make inappropriate, explicit comments towards people they don't know well enough to say such things. As a woman, I can confirm this. A few months ago, I was hanging out with my male neighbor. He came up to me, said I was cool, and suggested we hang out. On the first evening we met, he immediately started joking that he liked listening to his neighbors having sex, and he also believed that all women have fantasies about being raped. Hilarious, bro. Before that, we had only exchanged polite hellos and how are you questions. He was divorced. After spending about 2 hours with him, I thought, no wonder his wife left him, and he's been alone since. They think their flaws are forgivable, but other people's flaws are not. We judge ourselves by our intentions, and others by their actions. A guy the first know, a real incel, feels the need to comment on any woman he sees. It's amazing he hasn't been pepper sprayed yet. The funniest part is that the guys who rate girls on a scale are usually not more than a 3 out of 10 themselves. They aggressively tell women how to be more attractive to men. Usually, no one asks them for this advice. You'd be much prettier if you smiled more. I'd be much happier if I kicked you in the balls. They don't take responsibility and lack any self-reflection. No one needs an incompetent, immature guy who thinks he's perfect and doesn't want to grow or change. Allow me to disagree. There are plenty of incompetent, immature guys who date or are married. When a guy always tries to be the coolest in any situation. I have a friend who claims he has no fears and can take anyone down. Just a total jerk. Reminds me of Cyrus from Trailer Park Boys, but even worse and less funny. Nothing. I've seen the worst of the worst guys still find someone who tolerates them. I'm hoping the younger generations will make progress in this area. When a guy doesn't take care of himself and has a shitty character, but he rolls out a 10-page list of what a woman should be like. There are also guys who have achieved something and have a list of reasons why they are great catches and what kind of partner they are looking for. Then they're surprised that love doesn't boil down to checking off boxes on a list of requirements. If he only refers to women as bitches or whores or females, never says women, ladies, chicks, etc. Any guy who thinks in terms of males and females is an automatic red flag. Always looking for the perfect partner. Yes, I've seen quite a few wimps or average guys who are incredibly picky about women and turn their noses up at anyone who doesn't look like a supermodel. Too fat, too tall, not blonde. I want a blonde. And then they whine about being rejected. I want to say, dude, who are you to judge like that? Blame all women in the world for what one specific woman did. This is a good example for any gender, and a huge red flag. Complain about their problems in an echo chamber like Reddit, instead of taking responsibility for their lives. Exactly. Airing dirty laundry online only helps if you post it in the right place and actually take criticism and feedback into account, rather than continuing to think of yourself as God's gift to vaginas. Don't brush their teeth. Lie. Don't take responsibility. If someone lies so much that they're known as a liar, then damn, they're a bad liar. When they talk about the value of women as if they were commodities, I distanced myself from a very old friend when I saw how messed up his views were in this regard. View the world through the lens of all that alpha male crap, etc. The whole alpha male thing is designed to keep men single. That way, these insecure men keep giving views to content creators. Don't mind me, I'm just reading your comments for future self-reflection. Honestly, this already puts you ahead of some of the examples listed here. Self-analysis and the desire to improve will help you greatly in the long run. In college, I had a friend who constantly chased after women out of his league. And I'm not just talking about looks. I mean everything. He wanted perfect 10s, brains and looks, while he was a solid 4 to 5 in both areas. Additionally, he was almost always interested in women who already had good boyfriends. He had a completely unrealistic view in this regard. I said it then and I'll say it now. 20 years later, he will always remain single. I have a friend with incredibly high standards for women. He wouldn't date a girl who was overweight or not quite pretty, while he himself is a fat, balding, boring-looking guy in his 40s with a crappy job and a hairy back who hasn't had sex in 20 years. Except for when he paid for it, which was often. His dad left his mom when my friend was still a child, and he never had a good male role model. Bad hygiene. When a guy constantly hints at sex, can't have a normal conversation with a woman, only talks to women when drunk, and only to say something vulgar. Friends with a girl he secretly wants. Bonus. Every time he leaves, he asks for a hug. I'm speaking for myself. I don't understand when someone is hitting on me. Many times, I've been told, "Dude, that girl was hitting on you." And I always replied, "What?" No, she was just, "Oh my God, what have I done?" That's why I'll always be single. Any guy who starts a sentence with, "These modern women," dude will never know a woman's touch and will wonder why. I could identify some points, but every comment in this thread makes me realize I know a man who is married despite these traits. Furthermore, I know many kind, wonderful, smart, and funny men who behave well, would make great partners, are fine, but are perpetually single. So any reason why a man should be single for life doesn't seem to matter, and men who have every reason not to be single remain so anyway. I would say that the biggest thing keeping men from long-term happy relationships is a lack of self-awareness, in whatever form it manifests. And yet, there are men who have been married for decades, so who knows? I know quite a few men who believe that to get a woman's attention and respect, you need to treat her poorly. I've tried to help them open their eyes to healthy, happy, and normal relationships by giving examples around them. But these guys are usually quite out of touch with reality. I also knew men who thought women owed them something. Like, they didn't need to try to be a good person or a good partner. They just needed to tick the "I'm a man" box and act cool, and women would fall into their hands. I have a colleague with great qualities that suggest he will not only remain single, but also a virgin. Severe lack of hygiene, to the point that it's noticeable wherever he works. Pathological liar in everything, extreme sexist, always bad-mouthing the women he works with unless he thinks they like him, then he acts super creepy. Uses every bit of power he has at work, which isn't much, to make colleagues fear him, his words. Badmouths his subordinates to the higher-ups when he messes up. Perfect example, last month, he was supposed to conduct annual employee evaluations. Because of his laziness, he did nothing. You know what his excuse was? "My subordinates worked so poorly this year that I couldn't even come up with how to evaluate them." He's military. His home is a biohazard. I'm not kidding. The military had to call in special cleaners to clean his room when he left his last base. And I've seen his apartment at his new place. It's just awful. He does enough work not to get fired, but the entire staff hates him. I'm constantly amazed at the kinds of people who find partners. Some of the most immature men I've ever seen have gotten married. The biggest jerks I know have kids. I have a guy friend who I think will have trouble finding a girlfriend. He's in his early 20s, and his only way to entertain himself is to make loud fart noises with his mouth. Like, I'll be sitting chatting with a friend, and he suddenly makes this obnoxious fart sound with his mouth and laughs his head off. And, I'm a simple guy. I usually laugh at good poop jokes. Or, when someone farts at the right time, I can have a good laugh. But this guy literally can't tell a joke, can't tell a story, can't enjoy a moment of silence without making fart noises. He just constantly does it. I'm thinking of kicking him off our Discord server, where our IRL friends hang out, because he has nothing to say. Just fart noises, non-stop fart noises. Unrealistic expectations from a partner. I worked with a guy who almost everyone in the office considered an incel simply based on his L list of requirements. Here is the minimum he laid out. 1. She must be an 8/10 or higher. If we take 5 as average, was a 3 or 4. 2. She must have a job with approximately the same income as him. He earns $75,000 a year. 3. She cannot have an ordinary job, only an ambitious career. She had to have completed several degrees or received a law education. 4. She must do all the housework, like cooking and cleaning, while he will mow the lawn and hire people for repairs. 5. No tattoos, no piercings, except for pierced earlobes. 6. She must agree to have at least 3 children, and all childcare responsibilities will be hers. Besides all this, he had other ideals and preferences. But these 6 requirements were the basic minimum for him to even consider dating. Essentially, he wanted a perfect slave. We had one woman at work who actually met 4 or 5 of these criteria. She was a very conservative, traditional Christian. Several times after work, she tried to get through to this guy about how absurd it was to want a wife who would slave away both at home and at work, but it was all in vain. The guy was clearly in love with her, but claimed he never made any moves because she was too old, the same age as him. He said you should marry a girl of 18 or 19, so she would still be young and could take care of him when he retires. Don't forget, this 18 to 19-year-old girl should have a successful career, earning roughly as much as he does. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and watch other videos. We create new content every day for you.